My name is Bond. James Bond.
Roger Moore was the only actor who featured not 1, 2, 8 Seiko watches in his entire career as James Bond. He also has some interesting watches as well. Live and Let Die featured mainly two watches, the Hamilton Pulsar and the Rolex Submariner reference 5513. Hamilton Pulsar was Roger Moore's personal collection. So this Hamilton Pulsar was a very different watch. It used to have an LED and a quad circuit in it. So once you press the button, you can actually see the time, and it takes a lot of power to actually show the time for a few seconds. Roger Moore's era having more gadget savvy Bond storylines. So the Rolex Submariner reference 5513 featured a cutting saw which could cut through ropes and whatever Bond needed. If you have noticed this in Live and Let Die, there's a memorable boat chase in that movie, and in a split second a Tissot PR516 was featured. So this was overlooked by many people. It was featured in the Bond franchise, but only for a second. And in the movie The Man with the Golden Gun, again the Rolex Submariner 5513 was featured. In the movie The Spy Who Loved Me, two iconic watches were featured. The Seiko 0674 LC and the Rolex GMT Master Reference 1675. This was the first time in history a Japanese-made quartz watch was worn by James Bond. And even in the novels, James Bond wears only Rolex, but this time it was an exception. And in Roger Moore's era, it continued further. So the Seiko watch had a special feature in the Bond franchise. It used to print reports given by Q. It was Roger Moore's era had a lot of tech-savvy gadgets as well. So this was one of the first ones. The Rolex GMT Master had a normal basic function, didn't have any special features as well, because Bond was traveling through countries, so he needed a watch to track both the time. So that was the reason why GMT Master was introduced. Seiko had become an integral part of the Bond franchise after its first appearance in The Spy Who Loved Me. So it became the go-to place where people can buy watches featuring Bond's name. Heavy business call, and people started to buy these quartz driven watches during the quartz crisis. So it made Seiko a huge business proposition. In 1979, Moonraker came into picture, and this movie featured the Seiko M354 memory bank calendar. This movie was heavily based in space, so Bond had to have a digital watch, which made sense. And this watch is equipped with an explosive device with a remote detonator that plays a timely role in Bond's dramatic escape from the Moonraker ship. So this watch was a very modest and good looking watch according to me, and it had a memory bank calendar as well, so it was one of the good watches ever portrayed. After The Spy Who Loved Me and the Moonraker, officially or unofficially, Seiko had become part of the Bond franchise. So they used till the end of Roger Moore's era, only Seiko watches were being featured. And in the movie For Your Eyes Only, two Seiko watches were featured. The Seiko 7549 and the 7009, also called the Golden Tuna, was featured. And in the first half, the Seiko H357 Dual display was also featured. So these two watches were very different from each other. The Dual display had two different displays, like a digital as well as an analog display. So it was one of the more good looking watches back in the day. And the Golden Tuna was a diver's watch. So this watch had a screw-in crown, a golden bezel which is resembling a tuna can, so they named it Golden Tuna. So it was used in one of the submarine scenes in the Bond franchise. Then came Octopussy, the most controversially named Bond movie ever made. It was criticized as well for the name. So this movie featured the Seiko TV watch, and this watch was one of the most unique and impressive models ever made in Seiko and featured in the Bond franchise. So Bond used it for two different reasons. He used it for both his own needs and battle needs as well. So this TV watch, some people still have this TV watch in circulation, but it doesn't work in it. It uses radio frequencies to actually show TV, the live TV in real time. So it has a attachment at the top which is like an antenna receiver, so you can actually see live television. And it also featured the opening credits of Bond in Octopussy in its ads during that time. So this This watch is very popular and one of the most unique watches if you're a collector, and it's very rare to get. It doesn't work either. So you can try getting these online if you want to. Seiko and Roger Moore as James Bond parted their ways with A View to Kill. This movie featured 3 Seiko watches. The Seiko Diver Reference H558 and 5000, Seiko Reference 69238080, and Seiko Reference 7A287020. And most of the observers say that during the final battle scene, Roger Moore was wearing his Rolex Datejust, but it is not very clear as a two-tone Seiko model heavily resembles the Datejust. Roger Moore's career as Bond was very impressive and it featured a lot of tech-savvy watches. Next week, I'll be deep diving into Timothy Dalton as well as Pierce Brosnan's era as James Bond. Please do recreate the animations going on the screen right now to get notified when the new video comes out. See you next time.
James Bond. James Bond, you must take my word for it.